In the headlines to the CBC NewsNight, a dramatic increase in corporate tax for some companies, a new housing development being created in St. Philip, investors seeking to set up a bank in Barbados, and in sports, Australia are the third to qualify for the World Cup semis after an innings for the ages by Glen Maxwell.
In the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening and welcome to the CBC NewsNight. I'm Wendy Burke. Major changes tonight to Barbados's corporate tax rates for some companies. In effect, some companies will be paying more taxes from next year. The increase to 9% was announced by Prime Minister Mia Motley as she delivered a ministerial statement in Parliament today. Sharika Griffith has the details.
Prime Minister Motley explained the new rates, which will apply to profits earned from January 1st, are necessary as Barbados has committed to implementing a global minimum tax. She revealed that under the new rules, if Barbados kept a rate below 9%, treaty partners such as Canada could impose a tax on the country and companies domiciled here. But Ms. Motley notes not all companies will be subject to this 9% rate.
A company whose gross income is currently below $2 million and which is now registered as a small business under the Small Business Development Act, Chapter 318C, shall be subject to a corporation tax rate of 5.5%. 2. The corporation tax rate that is currently applicable to the insurance business sector of 0% for Class 1 businesses and 2% for Class 2 businesses shall remain. 3. International shipping business will remain taxed under the current tax regime established in 2019.
Prime Minister Motley says after consultations with the sector, the Ministry of Finance will advise whether a new regime should be adopted for international shipping companies from 2025. She also announced plans to roll out a qualified domestic minimum top-up tax to be administered by the Barbados Revenue Authority. This will ensure multinational enterprises with revenue in excess of $800 million and currently paying less than the 15% global minimum tax rate are brought up to that threshold. And in an effort to encourage growth, development and employment in strategic sectors, government will also be rolling out new tax credits, including in the area of research and development.
To innovate and to introduce new products and services approved by the Minister of Finance by order in the following sectors: medicine, science and technology, finance, information technology, including artificial intelligence, distillery and refinery, which I should have mentioned before under the qualifying jobs credit too, and any other industry added by ministerial order. It is anticipated, Mr. Speaker, that the country will seek particularly to attract also areas of research in the ocean and marine environment given the climate crisis that we face.
Prime Minister Motley says government remains in dialogue with companies and service providers as it seeks over the next few months to persuade as many of them as possible to stay in Barbados. She revealed plans should the higher tax rates result in excess revenue beyond what is required to meet the state's fiscal targets.
Improvements in our education system with heavy concentration on skills and digital skills development, the strengthening of our healthcare system, the building of resilience with increased spending on adaptation to mitigate climate change effects for our people and our businesses, for debt reduction, as I said, and for investing in the development of our young people, particularly through sports and cultural development.
But should there be any significant fall-off in corporation tax revenue in the country's attempt to comply with the rules, Barbados has indicated to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, that it will argue strongly for compensation. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
Joining us now for a further breakdown of the tax changes and what they mean is Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, Ryan Strawn. Minister Strawn, tell us exactly which companies the tax increase to 9% will apply to and what is the current rate of tax they are paying.
Hi, good night, Wendy. Good night to your listeners and good night, Barbados. The genesis of this reform really relates to the large multinational corporations for whom the annual turnover is approximately 750 million euros or about 800 million US dollars. Those large companies are required, according to the rules, to be taxed at a minimum of 15% globally. Now, currently, for those entities in Barbados, much of those entities that are in scope, as described in relation to the reforms, will generally be paying between 1% and 2% right now under the current regime. Therefore, to become compliant with respect to the global rules and to ensure that the country is not blacklisted going forward, it is important that these reforms come into play by January 2024. We accept that there are some countries that have not yet implemented the global rules, but there are some for whom a lot of the business that actually is transacted in Barbados will be bringing those rules into force from January 1st of 2024. And therefore, Barbados, after consultation with all of the stakeholders in relation to the affected companies, we've set out a very clear framework for where Barbados stands. But we are also conscious that there are some countries and companies, there are some countries that have not yet implemented the rules, and therefore that would remain unchanged. The tax rates will remain unchanged for those companies for the duration of 2024.
Okay, now regarding our international business sector in particular, isn't there a concern that we could lose a significant number of those companies?
There's always a concern when you do major tax reform. But the stark reality of the situation is that it doesn't matter where a company goes eventually. The assessment of the tax that it is paying globally will be done whether it's done here in Barbados or done in any other jurisdiction for which the parent entity may reside. And therefore, yes, there is a concern in relation to companies leaving the jurisdiction, but we have had some very fruitful engagement so far in relation to the principals and stakeholders involved in trying to ensure that we know who will stay and who potentially will go. So yes, there's downside risk in relation to companies leaving the jurisdiction, and that is important for Barbados to appreciate because more than 70% of our corporate taxes are actually paid by companies that are not that are external to Barbados, and therefore it is important to appreciate that the tax burden being undertaken across the country is shielded in a sense to the average Barbadian by having these companies pay taxes here. So yes, there's downside risks, but we are trying to mitigate and manage those downside risks by aggressive engagement with the principals.
Okay, now will this aggressive engagement involve any incentives being offered to retain as many of those companies as possible?
Well, to the extent that the tax credits being introduced at the moment, as outlined by the Prime Minister there, those came as a result of extensive consultation in relation to the industry so far. The Prime Minister also indicated that going forward in relation to areas of national development, as well as within the environmental, social and governance framework, that we will also be outlining a number of additional credits, because the reality is that for a long while, a number of companies have been seeking ways to engage in Barbados, and we never had a direct framework to be able to do that. Given our strong focus on building climate resilience and further economic resilience for that matter, it is important that as we embark on these transformational measures, that these other incentives, as you put it, in terms of being able to build social capital and to utilize some of the resources of these entities to deliver on the mandate of the government, is something that will be addressed frontally in next year's budget in March, as we complete the work to be able to outline clearly how that will become operational, such that those companies can participate in helping to further build out Barbados' development.
Okay. I want to thank you so much for joining us this evening, Minister Strawn.
Thank you very much.
In Parliament today, we also heard that St. Philip will soon have a new housing development as Crown lands formerly earmarked for the Ministry of Home Affairs are being shifted. During today's session of the lower house, a resolution for the vesting and disposal of Crown lands at Dodds Plantation was laid by Senior Minister in the Prime Minister's office, Dr. William Duguid. The land is intended for the construction of some houses and lot creation for the squatters at Gemswick St. Philip, as well as to provide housing for others in the parish who cannot qualify for a mortgage.
That this vesting then in National Housing Corporation will give some of them an opportunity to be able to move their houses from where they are to the new the new location. It will not only be them. In addition, we will also make some of the house spots available to people working in the government sector. Preferably, as you know, the same as we did with the whole program, with nurses, teachers, policemen, also getting an opportunity to get house spots and make those house spots available for them as well.
Dr. Duguid says work has already started to lay out the area.
An acre of about 46,000 square feet, and you do 5,000 square foot house spots. You could imagine you get about 8 or 9 house spots from each acre. So that would give you an indication as to how many house spots will be made available here for the people of Barbados. This, I think, will add significantly to our goal of providing those 10,000 houses, but it means getting the roads in. Roads have gone in. I'm quite satisfied with the quality of the road structure. There's still some drainage issues that they've been working on.
Rising in support of the resolution, Member of Parliament for St. Philip South, Indar Weir, says the project will bring relief to many.
The opportunity for people who are within that income group that does not qualify them for a loan should be able then to take advantage of the opportunity that is available to them in order for them to be able to have a roof over their head and own a piece of the rock.
Minister of Home Affairs Wilfred Abrams says his ministry is happy to give way to government's priorities. He says the matter of security was raised given the proximity to Dodds Prison, but that issue has been addressed.
The actual area which houses the prisoners at Dodds is far from that actual area. So you have the immediate precincts of Dodds Prison. You then have a buffer area that I think at the time of COVID we had staged the prison officers who were on shift there. Prison most recently held in that same area on the paved section. They held the Mr. and Mrs. Prison competition. So it's an area that's in general use that is separated far enough from the immediate precincts of the space occupied by the inmates to not be a security risk.
Coming up, Barbados showcasing its tourism product at the World Travel Market. Barbados is on show at the ongoing World Travel Market in London. The event, which ends tomorrow, brings together the international leisure travel community, providing exhibitors a place to do business and showcase their services to the international press. Barbados' delegation includes Minister of Tourism and International Transport, Ian Gooding-Edgell, along with representatives from the Barbados Tourism Marketing Incorporated and the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association. Barbados is showcasing its sceneries and promoting its activities and cuisine. An initiative intended to reverse the decline in literacy in Barbados has been launched. It's the Barbados is Blooming initiative and involves establishing mini libraries at community centres across Barbados. Acting Minister of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment, Davidson Ishmael, said it's a project of the Community Development Department, the Prince Goodwill Foremost Foundation Incorporated and the Massey Foundation. Trevor Thorpe reports.
The Barbados is Blooming initiative is about making literary material more accessible to people. Minister Ishmael expects it will benefit a wide cross-section of the population.
The first mini library is being installed here at the Parks and Resource Centre in the Pine, St. Michael, and I'm happy to announce that there will be similar installations at various community centres throughout the island. with an aim to reach all sectors of the Barbadian population and being adamant that there should be inclusivity. The ministry team is purposeful in their interventions to ensure that no one is left behind. Whilst we are cognizant that the mini library is a new concept in Barbados, the initiative is designed to distribute thousands of free books to various communities. In so doing, residents will not have to leave their communities to access books, as they will be literally on their doorsteps.
And before cutting the ribbon to declare the project open, the minister said its impact could be far-reaching.
The ministry's vision is that this initiative will be the impetus for much-needed empowerment within our communities. In fact, we have conceptualized this as a likely foundation for the formation and or revival of reading clubs, which will have the knock-on benefit of ensuring the sustainability of these mini libraries. Through its various agencies, the ministry commits to offering those reading clubs technical and financial support, and I am confident that our various partners who are here with us today will also pledge similar support.
Director of the Massey Foundation, Dawn Lane, called it a defining moment for Barbados.
We believe that a balance must be struck between the instant gratification that the digital age offers and the lasting enrichment which the pages of books can provide. As the Massey core values dictate, we must practice love and care. That's one of our values at Massey. We must promote growth and continuous improvement of our youth. We need to let this be the basis on which we collaborate with parents, teachers, guardians, and custodians to encourage a literate society.
The project has a cost of $125,000, and when completed, 15 mini libraries are to be established across Barbados. Trevor Thorpe, CBC News.
The Business Report, brought to you by the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme, a department of the Ministry of Youth and Community Empowerment, supporting young entrepreneurs from idea to enterprise.
In tonight's Yes Business Report, one young woman talks about how she was able to turn her crochet hobby into a rapidly growing business. Ryan Broom has more.
Shania Blunt says her mother actually played a major role in her eventual establishment of Beautifully Unique, or BU Designs. The Yes team caught up with her at the 2023 Trade and Innovation, or TIE Expo.
Well, my mom taught me how to crochet. She loves anything with needles, so I picked it up from watching her, and I just always had a love for fashion and designing, so this was the next step for me. And it started unofficially in 2017, but officially last year. We are a local business. We specialize in crochet, so crochet accessory and clothing. Right now is only for women, but by next year we should be moving into menswear.
Shania says while it is a somewhat unique area for business, competition in her niche is actually starting to increase.
The competition is getting more and more. There are a lot of designers that were out before me that are big, but it's pretty good. Each of us have our own style and our own signature look, so it isn't too bad.
And she says the response has been favorable, especially from seasonal and repeat customers.
It's been pretty good. My customer demographic is usually the younger generation, so the cruise, they're looking for their outfits for cruises, for fats, so it's been really good. When the crop over season comes, it usually picks up. It will slow down a little bit, and then now the independent season cruises are coming back. It's picking up again.
And she says all of her customers know what they're looking for, so everyone has their own favorite items.
It depends on who the customer is, because one of my customers loves the nudeness or loves the meshy style. Some people like it more covered, some people like fringe, so it all depends on the customer. There isn't a particular style that I do that everybody's like, oh, I like that one and not the rest.
Not tops or bottoms.
Yeah, it varies. So I don't think people are expected to see crochet hats and headbands. They're now seeing it like, oh, but I like that. That's so nice. So I think it has mainly been clothing, but the hats are really catching everybody's eyes. So the scrunchies have a bit like, oh, I didn't know you could make that out of crochet. These are key rings, so we have little bears and then little reversible octopi. I made those just for this event. The kids really, really liked it. I had one more than this and they bought them and they were like, oh my gosh, it's so cute, I want one. So it's been really good.
Meanwhile, Shania says Yes has played a pivotal role in the development of her business.
Yes has been really good. I did a course earlier this year that helped me on marketing and pricing and costing. So that was a big help because being that I make and I source my own material, I had to factor in all of that to lead up to how much I can charge people for it. Before I would just say, oh, well, I think it could be worth this, but no, I know exactly how to price everything. So it's been a really good help, especially with big events like this, where it would be a little bit hard for a small business to come to and be able to afford it while making a profit. It's really, Yes has really helped with that.
Looking ahead, Shania says she is hopeful of eventually being able to establish a storefront, since she currently does the majority of her business online through Instagram.
I am definitely hoping in the future to have multiple locations, that have people running the different stores for me, have employees who can crochet for me, because it's just me who does it. Yes, I have people who will help sell, but hopefully I can get people that can crochet and I can have them do some of the others while I do some as well.
Now, if you would like to get in contact with Shania and Beautifully Unique or BU Designs, just give them a call or WhatsApp at 841-5500 or check them out on Instagram with the handle BU_design. For the S Business Report, I'm Ryan Brew.
A new set of investors is eyeing Barbados to open a new bank, which will give support to innovators, small business people, and bolster those areas finding it difficult to get financing. Managing partner of the holding company, Christian Briggs, who was in Barbados for meetings yesterday, told the Morning Report about the plans.
What we're looking at doing is building a bank that will help a lot of the infrastructure, the people of the island of Barbados. It would offer traditional banking services, but it would offer a community or a small bank feel where customer service is a first and foremost one of our top priorities, to offer services that have sometimes been underserved in the community, where we want to take some of the bigger banks and what they do and how they do it, bring it down to a community bank, but yet still large in size, and offer these services to everybody on the island to try to really bring prosperity to some of the people that may have been underserved in the banking business.
Now it's time for round two of sports with Anne-Marie Burke.
I promised some netball news as defending champions Christchurch Foundation lost to Springer Memorial in one of their latest games of the Barbados Secondary Schools Under-19 competition. We were in Government Hill for this game between host team Springer and Christchurch Foundation, and it started on an even note with both teams going goal for goal. Foundation steals and there is some passing around before goal attack Ashari Brathwaite steps in and scores. The ball is heading up court now as the Springer girls were looking to answer to that last goal by their opponents. And when it was a smooth delivery to the circle after the contact call, goal attack Destiny Brewster, after slight hesitation, goes for it. And it's good. The first quarter ended locked, 2-all. Into the second, and the girls from Government Hill stepped up their game. And now if the shooting duties was Kezia White-Keel, and she was quite effective. Springer is sent to pass, and the passes were good as the ball advanced to the circle. And again, it would be White-Keel, but where she missed, backing her up, blocked by the referee in our shot, is Brewster. But I'm sure you saw the ball drop through the net. As Springer went into the half, up 8-5. On the back foot, Foundation scored the third quarter's first goal. Now if the shooter babe was Kiana Hart. Foundation found the groove and the ball was finding the circle more often. Where Hart missed, Brathwaite was there to pick it up. But the Springer girls were not going to relinquish the lead they established. White-Keel with another of her 10 goals as they held on 9-8 at the end of the third. Final quarter now, and the girls in blue were shooting back down court, and in the circle White-Keel finds Brewster, and it's a done deal. They also stepped up their defense. Goal defense intercepts and watch as she aided in the ball advancing down court before leaving it all up to her attacking team. and White Keel had the finishing duties, and she does it. Foundation were putting up a fight, trying to keep in the hunt for the win. Nice overhead lobbed into Hart, and it dances in. But one thing any team hates is coming on their home turf and beating them, and the Springer girls will not have it, as they were conquered by a 6-goal margin. The final whistle goes Springer 17, Foundation 11.
That's our news. Do enjoy the rest of your evening.